Hey guys, how's it going? Sorry I haven't uploaded this week. I have had a bit of chest infection, probably COVID, and I have been feeling pretty grim. So this is about the first day that I felt more human again and enough to be able to talk consistently. Now what we're going to do in this video, I'm going to jump straight to it. I'm going to go through pretty much every single unit and every single leader and talk about their best talent, because the number one question that I seem to see on Discord and on all of the community forums is like, what is the best talent for this unit? And I'm going to do the leaders, I'm going to do the units. And because most of you will likely, within the first few months, only have uncommon variations of your units, you're only going to get one choice at a talent, because Blizzard has very annoyingly made it that so that you have to get to rare to get the second talent. And you can only use one talent at a time. And there's no talent reroll option. Which, by the way, if you're watching this, Blizzard, please add a talent reroll option so people that have bought the incorrect talent, because some talents are strictly just worse than others, can then reroll and do something else with that talent. Me being one of them. When I started this game, before I was making content, I bought a load of useless talents. So you're going to see me with some useless talents, and I'm going to go against the talents that I've picked for certain heroes. But nonetheless, here we go. We'll start off with Alliance, and I'm going to start off with the Alliance units first, and then I'll do the leaders. So, Worgen. I've got two talents here, but you can see the three talents on your screen. Personally, I think premeditation is the best talent for Worgen, mostly because it will give you a massive extra bit of damage when you hit a target, and you can use Worgen to take out backline like Huntress. You can use Worgen to take out Necromancer. It's just, I personally think, the best talent. One second, I'm going to have to quickly snooze my ring notifications, otherwise they're going to pop up all the way through this video. Now, there is also Lone Wolf, which grants you 1 gold if no allies are nearby, but it's situational, and it really only grants you, turns Worgen into a 2 gold unit. I think premeditation in general is just more useful. It's better for unbound, attacking bases. It's better for taking out individual units. I just think that premeditation is the best talent for Worgen, but Lone Wolf is perfectly okay. And then the Bloodlust one, meh. Like, because ultimately Worgen is used for that first hit coming out of stealth, and you're very rarely going to have a unit like Worgen stick around for 10 seconds because it just won't happen. So in shame, I haven't actually equipped my safe pilot talent. The reason being is because I accidentally bought the freaking sheep one by mistake in the grid. Now, there is only one talent for safe pilot that is frequently used, and that is Gnomish cloaking device. The others are okay and definitely have their uses, but if you're looking to play safe in PvP, then Gnomish cloaking device is basically the only talent that really works for safe pilot, because otherwise, if you're not timing her exactly correctly, or you haven't got aggro drawn to a tank already, she'll just get immediately killed before she can get her first hit off. And realistically, then you're just using her for the impact damage, which only uses half of what safe pilot's good at. So Gnomish cloaking device is the best talent for safe pilot. So this is an interesting one. Harvest Golem, I think, has got 2 talents which kind of work. I like the on death stun nearby enemies for 3 seconds, because that obviously applies to the first death and the second death. And then on death for spawn 4 angry chickens. Now I personally like spawn 4 angry chickens, but unstable core is also very good. It just depends on how many units are around the Harvest Golem when when it dies. Bountiful Harvest is also okay too, especially if you're playing Harvest Golem in kind of like a grouped push comp. But I just think if you're looking to have, in general, a bit more use, then I think Trojan Chickens, you're going to get 8 chickens out of Harvest Golem. That's essentially, what, like 2 golds worth of value that you add to Harvest Golem. So I personally just think that Trojan Chickens is the best talent, in my opinion. But I do think that the others are useful, and definitely you shouldn't feel bad about getting them either. This is definitely not one of those units where it's like all of the talents are bad except one. This has definitely got talents across the board which are okay. Right, we'll have a quick look at Mountaineer. So Mend Pets, personally, I don't think is that great, because you have to play it in a beast deck, and this is quite expensive for a beast deck. I like Intimidation because it draws aggro to the bear, especially if you are trying to take aggro away from the Mountaineer. And Frenzied Spirit is also good. So I think both Frenzied Spirit and Intimidation are good talents here. I've chosen to take Intimidation. I'm not actually using Mountaineer because it needs a serious buff. It's not actually a very good unit for 6 gold, and I think it needs a bit of a cost reduction. But ultimately, I personally like Intimidation as the better one. Right, let's have a look at the next, which is Arcane Blast. So this is a kind of interesting one because I like Arcane Power, which means that, you know, Arcane Blast immediately starts at 3 gold, which basically means you have 2 quite powerful blasts, and you don't have to go through the lower level blasts. However, there are some decks which benefit from spellcasting, like Jana and Blood Mage Thanos decks, where Arcane Power is clearly going to be a worse choice because you want the cheap spells to either level up or, you know, as with Jana, get massive value out of the increase in levels. Amplification is kind of meh, and the reason Amplification is kind of meh is this is already quite a big spell, so why would you really need the spell radius to go up? It's already quite a large radius spell, and I can't name many situations where I would want Arcane Blast's radius to be any higher. And Torrent is also okay, but obviously you need to cycle through all of the Arcane Blasts to get Torrent completed. So really, it's kind of situational. I think if you're running Arcane Power outside of a Blood Mage Thanos or a Jana deck, if you're looking at Arcane Blast, Arcane Power is the best one outside of a Jana or Blood Mage Thanos deck. Torrent is good inside those decks, and I think Amplification is just kind of unneeded. The only problem with Arcane Blast is that you would never really run it over something like Blizzard. Blizzard is just a better spell overall. So Griffin Rider, personally, and I think there's not much contest here, Mighty Throw is just best. It just keeps Griffin Rider safe in a lot of situations where it would have previously been unsafe. So I really like Griffin Rider. Fury is also okay. The only one that I don't like is Airdrop because it's just a bit meh. Like it's sort of a bit random. You can't control it. It doesn't always necessarily grant you something amazing, especially if you try and drop it over a squad unit. So I think Odin's Fury or Mighty Throw, but personally Mighty Throw would be my choice for Griffin Rider. So when it comes to Holy Nova, I think that like almost all these talents are good. Like Inner Fire grants armor and resist for 5 seconds, which essentially doubles the value of the heal. And I'm saying that because if you're healing someone and they actually burn through all of that healing, with armored and resist, it actually doubles the value of the healing provided to them, because it takes, you get a 50% damage reduction on all types of damage, because it's armored and resist for 5 seconds. So you're going to gain a 5-second grace period where all damage incoming is reduced by half. So Inner Fire, personally, I really like because it essentially doubles how impactful Holy Nova is in terms of effective HP gain across all the units used in it. Renew is quite nice because it adds a heal over time. And then Amplify Magic, effects are doubled on all elemental minis. It's I like that, but also like Inner Fire just does that basically for all minis. So I prefer Inner Fire over Amplify Magic, but Renew is also good. But if I had the choice and I'm going to pick one, it will be Inner Fire. The only thing that obviously Amplify Magic brings instead of Inner Fire is it doubles the damage dealt to enemy elemental minis, but again, that's quite specific. And I just think that Inner Fire is going to always be useful. And like I said, it essentially doubles the healing value on all of the units that you use it on, if that health is depleted within 5 seconds of having used the ability. But 5 seconds is quite a long time in Warcraft Rumble, so that's why I personally really like Inner Fire. So Fortification, gaining 30% extra empty health, basically means you need to run Footman alongside Tyrion or Frostwolf Shaman, simply because they need to be healed, that 30% extra health. Last Stand, in my opinion, only good if you're going to split them and one of them dies. But honestly, Shield Bash just feels like the most useful talent for Footman. Shield Bash just gives them a bit of extra utility. Outside of Shield Bash, Footman are kind of really crap. I think Footman are crap in general, but Shield Bash just gives them an extra little bit of utility, making them more of a useful unit. I think it's a better talent than the rest of them on here. And Shield Bash is, in my opinion, a little bit more impactful for PvP because you're getting some kind of utility out of this unit that is traditionally not that good. Now, obviously, there are some Alliance units currently in my deck, so I'm just going to go through the 3 extra minis that I have to talk about here. So, Huntress. All of Huntress's talents are quite good. Dionysian Steel is quite nice if you know that you're going to be facing a very, very high volume units, only good versus like high volumes of squads, or versus beast spam, or murloc spam, or old Murkai, or something like that. Elven Might is, in my opinion, the most adaptable. It can be used so easily in PvE. It makes Huntress a lot more effective against single target units as well, and I think is just generally sort of slightly above the rest. However, having played a lot of PvP where people play Huntress in PvP, gain stealth and ambush, so a stealth Huntress is just super nice. You always get the first hit on your enemy, you win the mirror matchup. In general, Shadow Meld is just a very, very good talent. It's hard to choose between these three. I think Dionysian Steel is the worst, simply because it already bounces 3 times. You can already clear squads quite effectively with Huntress. I like Elven Might because I think that you burn that initial target down more quickly, and then those bounces are going to start to bounce to other people anyway. So I personally opted for Elven Might, but it depends what you want. Elven Might, I think, better for PvE progression and better for PvE, sort of still does well in PvP. I think Shadow Meld is better for PvP and less useful in PvE, so kind of make your decision based on that. But Elven Might to me was the one that I liked the most, so that's the option that I'm going to go for and my recommendation in this video. So, Defias Bandits. They're all not bad talents. Deadly Poison is okay, but realistically these units are not going to survive that long, and there are other units that can poison in the game that I think are just more effective. Picklock, earn an extra 2 gold when opening chests. Personally, I went for that because it just means that if you're able to get Defias Bandits down in PvP to take down a chest, that is an extra 2 gold in your back pocket. It pays for this unit twice and allows you to be a little, almost like Sneed, allows you to accelerate and get a slightly more expensive unit on the field. So I personally like Picklock. However, it's the least generally useful. Last Resort is also good, but it's a 3-second stun, and usually Defias Bandits die together, so you're very, very rarely going to get a 3-second stun followed by another 3-second stun. That situation is only going to happen if you have Defias Bandits versus one target, and then one dies, and then the other one dies. So they're all good. They're all good talents, and it's very difficult to pick. Personally, I just went for Picklock because I'm not picking Defias Bandits to suddenly deal or trade upwards versus very, very high HP units, which is what Poison is generally good at. I just go for the utility of Defias Bandits, and that's why I've gone for Picklock, which I find it generally works out quite well in PvP. Okay, with Blizzard, Cold Snap, Ice Crown, and Brittle Ice. Now, Brittle Ice is good, and it combos well with things like Huntress, but you have to have physical damage units within the range of your Blizzard, and oftentimes you're using Blizzard away from where you're currently have your units. You're often using it to sort of take down an enemy grouping that's away from your units, or thin out the enemy group before it gets to your units. So very rarely do you see Blizzard used in conjunction with an assault from your own minis. Ice Crown definitely has its place, but really, and the only time I felt that Ice Crown is useful is against unbound PvP spammers, and you can just see that how having 2 sets of Blizzards could be useful in that scenario. Cold Snap, in my opinion, is the best because it guarantees a full amount of Blizzard damage to anyone caught in at any point in the circle. So there's no worry about someone walking out of the Blizzard circle if you catch them on the very edge. So I just think that Cold Snap, in my opinion, is the best talent because it guarantees full Blizzard damage dealt to anyone caught inside the radius of the spell. And that is the one that I will recommend for Blizzard. Right, here's a unit where I'm going to tell you to go for something that I didn't go for. Tyrion Fordring. Consecrate is terrible, don't go for Consecrate. I mean, it's not bad, but it's the worst of the 3 talents. Divine Shield and By the Light. Now, By the Light is good, and I like it, especially if you're running like Abomination or Tyrion tank decks. But if you're just having Tyrion as an individual unit, gain a magical shield at 30% health, absorbing all damage for 5 seconds. Now, I thought that units would switch to other targets when Tyrion cast this. No, Tyrion just becomes an invulnerable tank for 5 seconds. And I think can also heal himself during that time. It is the best talent. Divine Shield is almost certainly the best talent. It just makes Tyrion far more useful than he is. It makes him a much stronger tank and essentially gives him a 5-second taunt. So, yeah, Divine Shield is the one that I'll recommend for Tyrion. I think it's significantly better than the rest of them. And I wish I hadn't gone for By the Friggin' Light. Right, Maiev. So, cast a smoke bomb on deploy stealthing nearby allies. I think is quite good. It definitely works if you're trying to play like Maiev Gargoyle decks, something like that, because Gargoyle obviously can just then stealth all the way to the enemy base. I quite like that. Periodically teleport to a ranged attacker when hit, Shadow Step. I think it's personally the best one because it just means that you can use Maiev to be much more useful at taking out backline and deal double damage for 2 seconds after killing an enemy. It's okay. All of these talents are decent and they have their place. I just think that Shadow Step is probably the most useful to make Maiev a pretty viable leader outside of just Unbound spam. It just means you can deploy Maiev. She can use stealth. If she gets attacked by another ranged minion, she'll jump to them and start attacking them and hopefully kill them too. So it just makes her a very strong assassin unit, which is I think what Maiev is primarily designed to do. I do like enveloping shadows though. Basically means that you don't have to run a smoke bomb in your deck. But overall, I just think Shadow Step makes her a much more useful unit. That's why I've opted to go for Shadow Step. And Jana. So all of Jana's talents are okay. None of them are super impactful. Flurry, Frostbolt's burst on impact, and they slow enemies nearby, but it doesn't deal damage to enemies in an AoE area, so it makes it less useful. Spells cost 1 gold less if played immediately after Jana, so basically reduces the cost of a spell by 1. Meh. Periodically teleport away from attackers. That actually is really nice because it makes Jana drop aggro and also makes her safer when she gets engaged on. Most people opt to go for Blink on Jana. It just means that she's not as easily killed by people trying to take her down. So I quite like Blink. It just keeps Jana on the field longer, makes her trickier to deal with and harder to get rid of. So I'm going to officially recommend Blink for Jana. So I realized I was going to do all of them, but that's going to take me forever. It took me nearly 16 minutes just to get through Alliance. So we're going to do one for each of the families. And I'll do Beast next, and then I'll do Blackrock, then I'll do Horde, and then I'll do Undead. It will take me probably over an hour and a half of content to get through all the talents. So that's all the recommendations, in my opinion, for the Alliance talents. And I'll timestamp everything so you can see it. I hope you guys are enjoying Alliance Week as well in the dungeon. And hopefully you guys, as you can see, I haven't done any of my Alliance dungeons yet. I've got about 2 days to do them. And hopefully you guys make some good talent choices when it comes to these leaders. See you soon.